Welcome to the program agenda. It's May 11, 2022, and 2 days after Election Day, everything is essentially over and done with except for the official proclamations. And today we will be speaking with Senator Win Gatchalian regarding his assessment of things to come in the Senate, and on the other side, we will have Marichu Villanueva of the Philippine Star to give us her assessment of how the elections will affect our country potentially in the next 6 years. I'm Cito Beltran, your host, and you are watching Agenda on One News PH. We thank you for being subscribers of Cignal TV and viewers on channels 8 and 250. Maraming salamat to PLDT Home Fiber Optic Internet and our friend there, Mr. Marco Borlongan, who keeps us on the air all the time. Thank you for joining us. And for those of you who are watching us via Facebook and YouTube all over the country, as well as parts of America, Canada, etc., maraming salamat po mga kababayan, and we hope you will join us today. Let's get the day started with our daily starter, and it is from this book from 2 Timothy chapter 4, verse 7. I have fought the good fight, I have finished the race, I have kept the faith. I hope that all of you, regardless of whether you are on the pro, anti, on the pink, the red, the white, and the blue, at the end of the day, that you give yourself a pat on the back and congratulate yourself because you did what you had to do in the elections. And if you voted, I salute you. And for those who did not vote, better luck next time, or let's do better next time. Anyway, let's go now to the front page of the Philippine Star quickly for the news review. And the headline is, Marcos thanks voters as quick count shows win. At the top of the front page, BBM urged lay out full economic plan. COMELEC throws out DQ appeals versus BBM. Vice President Lenny says fight not yet over. And lower, incumbents dominate Metro Manila race winners. And Ping, Isko, other presidential bets concede. Voters told observe COVID symptoms. This is very important after this election. Please stay home, wait a few days, check yourself out because you are not sure if you might have COVID or not. That center photo is of the first family to be of BBM, his wife Luis, Lisa Reneta, and their 2 sons. Meanwhile, that lower photo is a street cleaner taking out all the election trash that were left behind. Meanwhile, the PNP reports 6 people died or were killed during the elections and 32 were hurt. That is essentially the news for today. We're just doing a summary because we have 2 guests lined up, and let's now go to our first guest. He is a re-electionist, winner in the last election, and let's bring in Senator Win Gatchalian. Congratulations, Senator.
Thank you, Cito. Thank you for the greetings, and thank you for inviting me to your show. First of all, thank you to everyone, to all our kababayans who continue to put their trust on me. Thank you. Maraming salamat po.
Okay, well, it's a well-deserved win. You were one of the most active, visible, and easy to speak to senators, so there's no question about that. But my first question, and I'm not trying to rock the boat here for you this morning, but if you recall, you started out with the Ping Soto tandem. and you left that and joined BBM and Sara. That's all water under the bridge, but how is that situation? Are you all good? Is everyone, has everyone accepted na politika lang yan? Or do you still have to go back to Senator Ping and Senator Tito Soto and say, mga kuya, necessity yun, pagpasensya na kayo? Are you restoring relationships?
Well, Cito, just as a background, I started off with 3 groups.
Okay.
Uni team, then you have the Lacson Soto team, and then also the Pacquiao team. And for me personally, it's very hard to. That's my first time to be a guest candidate in all different teams, no, in all 3 different teams, and it's very difficult for me. I realized that. So I decided to join just one team so that I can campaign fully and focus on just one team, because one team is enough. The schedules are physically very demanding. So it's impossible for any candidate to go to all 3 rallies in all 3 teams. So moving forward, I have very high respects for Senator Lacson, for SP Soto, and for Senator Manny. All of them are great legislators. All of them are great people, and all of them are friends. So I am going to visit them one by one personally, to thank them personally, and of course to ask their advice on how to move forward. I've worked with them, especially Senator Lacson and Senator Soto. I've worked with them in many pieces of legislation, and I would like to continue to work with them in the next coming years.
Okay, you've said it yourself that being a guest candidate in 3 different parties was hell or very difficult. What are your thoughts regarding that that practice? Because this election has taught us many things. It taught me personally that we don't have real political parties because our political parties only have politicians as members and not ordinary people like ourselves. Now, for you as the candidate, should we continue allowing this practice, or what other practices should we disallow in future elections?
Well, Cito, that's a great question, no? And it relates to what's happening right now. And I'll answer that from a macro point of view. No? Bongbong Marcos and Sara will be the first majority voted president and vice president, meaning they will have the ultimate mandate of the people, meaning their political capital is really very big and very strong. No? And they should use that to implement reforms. Reforming our political party system needs a lot of political capital because a lot of politicians are benefiting from the present setup right now. There's no political party, so to speak, in our country. It's a personality-based system, meaning people gravitate to politicians and people gravitate to certain personalities, but not gravitate to political parties because political parties are an abstract in our country. They don't know what is it about. They know the brand, they know Lakas, they know NPC, where I'm from, but they don't know the ideology or the direction. So, in short, Bongbong Marcos and Sara Duterte should use their huge political capital to reform our political party system, put in place a ideology-based political party system, a political party system that is strong, a political party system that will be the vehicle for change and for further reforms if necessary. Not personality-based, not patronage-based system.
Okay, now you're going back to the Senate. And of course, after every election, there is always this musical chairs in the different committees. Now, you're a second termer, so that makes you a senior, so to speak. Now, what position are you gunning for, or what committees are you gunning for?
Well, Cito, I'm still in the process of identifying the committees that I want to chair. But definitely, it will revolve around education and the economy. These are the things that I'm very passionate about. So without identifying which committees, I will focus on these 2 aspects moving forward. Then also, when I say economy, that goes energy goes with it, trade and commerce goes with it, and so on and so forth.
Okay, does it follow, because like for instance, Robin Padilla, he was the clear leader in this election. He posted #1 senator. Does he get to choose any position he wants, or
Oh, yes.
at the end of the day, he's still told, teka, bata ka pa, bagong salta ka lang dito sa barangay, you cannot choose?
Yes, definitely he will be given an opportunity to pick his committee. His being #1 definitely plays a very persuasive role because he's #1. And congratulations to Robin. Just to digress a bit, no?
Yeah.
I think his advocacy on Muslim participation, no, is resonating. In fact, because we're both in the unit team, and I've heard him speak about Muslim representation in the Senate, and that seems to resonate to our people. And he's actually correct, no? That the last Muslim senator that we have, it's been quite a while already.
Rasul.
Yeah, and so it's about time that we will have one Muslim senator that will represent the aspirations of our Muslim brothers and sisters.
Okay, so going back to those committees, one of our researchers, I just don't know who asked this question, but it's a very good question. If you go back to chairing the Committee on Education, what do you intend to do about historical revisionism? Because let's take the politics out of it. It is a serious concern as far as Filipinos when you and I and everyone else is dead and gone.
Well, #1, if you talk about revisionism, Cito, for the last 30 years, DepEd has been writing or has been promulgating our curriculum. And the curriculum is based on what historians tell us. No? So for the last 30 years, our kids have been reading history as what historians taught us. No? And moving forward, I don't see the need to revise anything. It has to be factual, no? As what our historians tell us, as what our experts tell us, and whatever history tells us, then that should be in our textbooks.
Okay, what is your position regarding the laws that were left hanging, or bills that were left hanging, particularly the SIM card registry and social media account bill?
That should be separated. Cito, no? The prepaid SIM card registration is a very straightforward bill. I'll refile that. In fact, I'm one of the principal authors of that. So I'll refile that. The social media registration is a much more complicated process. Now, first of all, for example, no, just to give you some details, Facebook is in America, TikTok is in America or China, Instagram is in America. How can we force them to register all their users, and how can we police them using our laws? No? So it's a much more complex or a complicated process. No? So to get the prepaid SIM card registration going, let's file that as a separate bill. If we need to file a social media registration, and if the process is feasible, then let's do it. Because I also agree that the trolls should be banned, no? Or this type of trolling should be banned in social media because it creates a lot of problems for society.
Okay, a little reverse to the education concerns. As we know, education in the COVID years has been so dependent on internet. Now, do you have any plans or strategies to get the telcos to spike the services? Because some people have said, let the telcos alone, just liberalize everything so that we can have a serious network. Because I think there's this issue with the DITC, etc., that, yes, you have a government agency, but it doesn't have the capacity to do it.
That's one thing Bongbong Marcos, so President-elect Bongbong Marcos, is quite passionate about. I've heard him talk about internet and connectivity quite a bit. And I would push for newer technologies. Cito, I've given up with cell sites and wired connectivity. It's very difficult in our country. I've talked to SpaceX, who's launching satellites to broadcast internet. These are the newer technologies or the latest technologies that we should tap into. Meaning our law should liberalize internet, satellite-based internet technologies. There's so many. SpaceX is just one. No? There's so many satellite-based internet technologies that who wants to come into our country. Wag natin pahirapan sila. Let them come in. Let them set up landing sites here or connectivity sites. Welcome them to come in because putting up cell sites, putting up wires, it's not going to work in our setting.
Okay, so what is your reaction? Speaking of foreign companies like SpaceX, etc., J.P. Morgan has been reported as putting the Philippines in the bottom of their list for potential investments. There is a concern that after what's happened in the last election, we are going to see either a reduction of foreign direct investments or confidence in the economy?
I haven't read that report, but I beg to disagree with that report for three reasons, Cito. Number one, the past administration has liberalized our economy through various laws. We have the PSA, the Public Services Act. We have the Foreign Investment Act. We have lowered down our tax rate through CREATE. All these three laws will attract investments in our country. Number two, our private sector is very strong. One thing about our country is it's a private sector driven economy, and that's good. No? As businessmen or in my past life, we've given up with government in terms of catalyzing business. Businessmen have taken into their hands to catalyze the economy, and that's good. That's like the Taiwan model, where in the private sector move their economy. In our country, it's the same direction, the same setting. Number three, our fundamentals are very strong. Even though we borrowed a lot during the pandemic, but we're slated to grow around 6% to 7% in the next few years. This pandemic is a temporary aberration, but our reserves are quite high, our exports are quite strong. Our OFW remittance has grown in the last few months. So our fundamentals are quite strong. So all these three basically will jumpstart our economy. Of course, the government needs to pump in more money, but we have the fundamentals in place in order to grow sustainably in the next 10 years.
Okay. Even the best of governments and systems fail if it is unable to address the needs and expectations of the population. Now, you're a politician. What would be the greatest concern and should be the priority of the BBM administration as far as campaign or platform expectations go?
I think in my personal analysis, the most important here is how to bring back our economy to the pre-pandemic level. That is a priority. That should be the priority of the next administration. And we have low-hanging fruits that we can tap. Number one, tourism. I've been going around the country lately a lot, Cito, and to my discouragement, air traffic has gone back to pre-pandemic levels. It's a good sign, but it's a bad phenomenon. No, but that goes to show that people are raring to go. There's pent-up demand in tourism that we need to tap. No, but we need to fix infrastructure. We need to fix those delays.
Okay,
but that's a low-hanging fruit.
Yeah, Senator, if you would, we'll just go for a very quick break, a commercial, and when we return, please elaborate on those low-hanging fruits. We'll be right back here on Agenda.
Thank you, Cito.
Welcome back to the program agenda. I'm your host, Cito Beltran, and with us on the first part of the program is none other than winner re-electionist Senator Win Gatchalian. Senator, we were talking about low-hanging fruits that the BBM administration should pick or pluck. What are these aside from tourism?
I've recommended to him tourism because that's a gem that we haven't exploited in our country. And we need to do that by fixing infrastructure, fixing the delays. Delays are really causing a lot of problems for tourists and make it easier for tourists to move around our country. So for example, places like Palawan, places like Cebu, improve connectivity. You don't need to pass through Metro Manila in order to go to Palawan. Encourage more airlines to fly straight to Palawan, straight to Bohol. We have new airports there. So in short, this is what I recommended to him to jumpstart our economy, because tourism is actually one of the fastest way to invigorate the countryside, because money will go straight to the pockets of our people there.
And what would be the best job creation projects? Because while tourism does hire a lot of people, I think we're essentially leveled up unless we go on a tourism boom and further construction. But aside from that, what would be the best vehicle for job creations?
Yeah. The BBM administration vowed to continue the BBB, the Build, Build, Build program. And as we all know, the last 6 years, the Build, Build, Build program has been highly successful in terms of, number one, building countryside infrastructure, and number two, creating jobs. It has created 6 million jobs in the last 6 years. So that's the multiplier effect of infrastructure is quite significant, and they've vowed to continue that. So that's another economic strategy that they will embark on in terms of creating jobs.
Okay, I just got an unexpected message here. It's nice to know that our friends are watching from my friend May. Senator Win, what about PPPs as an option for our infra projects, especially now that we have a huge fiscal gap?
Yeah, I would recommend PPP also. Definitely, that's a very good question, because right now, because of our high debt levels, we need to pare it down for a bit. So in order to embark on a massive, to double BBB, Build program, you need private capital to come in. And PPP is a way to encourage private capital. But we need to fix the process. Ang hirap ng PPP, it takes about 3 years just to give them a notice to proceed. So a lot of the private investors are discouraged because the paperwork takes about 2 years. And then after 2 years, it's election time already. No? So we need to fix the process. In fact, I have a law to streamline PPP, public-private partnership, so that private capital can jumpstart right away.
Okay, will that be limited to PPP? Because earlier we were talking about telcos, the Elon Musk company, and that has been the complaint of many investors, both local and foreign, that while the national government has this great vision or idea, the minute they go down to the local government, down to the LGUs, all the corruption takes place.
Yes. You're absolutely correct, Cito, that there's a disconnect between national and local, and we need to streamline some of the processes there. For example, we need to replace the barangay clearance with a automatic appropriation mechanism. No? The barangay clearance is actually, if you build a 1 million infrastructure project or a 1 billion infrastructure project, you still need to get the barangay clearance. Because that's a revenue source for the barangay. We can replace that with another revenue source for our barangay, so that you will not go to each barangay to get a barangay clearance. We need to streamline that. And then number two, we also need to streamline pre-employment requirements. For example, the NBI clearance. The NBI clearance is such a pain for many of our ordinary citizens. We treat everyone as criminals in our country. But I'm sure the people who get barangay clearance, only probably less than 5% of them are actually there's actually flag, no, or red flags in their barangay, in their NBI clearance. We need to do away with that. No?
Especially if the barangay officials will be held criminally liable for improperly endorsing or clearing someone who is to be known as a felon or a criminal.
Yeah. So we need to streamline our processes. Number one, replace the barangay clearance. Number two, do away with the NBI clearance, because these are two hurdles for employment and also for infrastructure.
Mm-hmm. And okay, so but I just remembered in terms of job generations, one of the most crucial sectors is agriculture.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, I cannot see in the lineup of the Senate a true proponent of agriculture, especially with Kiko Pangilinan leaving the Senate. Of course, there's Cynthia Villar, but I think she's gunning for Senate President. What are your views on those two things? Senate presidency of Villar and agriculture.
Well, Cito, that's a good observation. Agriculture is such an important sector in our country, and the Senate will participate as a whole, no, in terms of taking care of our agriculture sector. For example, smuggling. No, smuggling is killing our agriculture sector. Competitiveness, our rice competitiveness. We need to make sure that the RCEP, the Rice Competitive Enhancement Fund, is going to the right hands. So we will make sure that the agriculture sector will not be left behind. Instead, our farmers will be competitive and will be enabled to compete, no, internationally. In terms of Senate presidency, I'll reserve that for now, Cito. I think it's too early to talk about that.
Yeah, no, because the reason I was asking that is because I read the statement, or at least a news piece of news that Senator Bato had mentioned that possibility. So have you heard of any rumors that Cynthia Villar will be the next Senate president?
I haven't talked to any of our senators yet, because we just got off the elections yesterday, but I haven't heard of anything yet.
Okay, well, final point to discuss with you, Senator. You at one point had visited Sara Duterte. In fact, if I'm not mistaken, you had volunteered yourself or presented yourself as a potential VP choice if she ran for president. Now, so that I presume indicates that you are close friends or you have access. Where do you think Sara Duterte will be, aside from being vice president? Do you see her taking an active cabinet position, and what would that be, or what should that be?
I would recommend to her DepEd, Department of Education. Again, we go back to the mandate. She's given more than 60% of the votes. In terms of political capital, that's huge. That's a lot of political capital that she can use to reform our education system. Our education system needs reforming. We need to fix many, many things. And just to go back again, we came in last in the PISA results. We're last in many, many of the international results, and we cannot do business as usual in the next 6 years. Someone has to take charge and reform many of our processes and systems in order to improve our education system. So I would recommend to her the Department of Education. But of course, she's a mayor. She has a lot of experience as being a local government official. She can contribute in other departments, for example, DILG or the SWD, a portfolio that she can be effective because of her local government experience.
Oh yeah, but there is also the suggestion or the I don't know what to make of it, but some people have said that she might gun for Secretary of Defense, given her affinity for the military and her passion, etc.
I think she made that statement a while back, no, but I'm not really sure what her direction about that. No? But in my opinion, what's important right now is to use her political capital.
Mhm.
make use of that, exploit that, make it effective in things that we need a lot of reform. No? Because with political capital, you can do many, many things. And in my opinion, education is one of those sectors that we need to push many reforms.
Okay, last question. Any recommendations for cabinet positions?
You mean names?
Yeah, because I mean, some people have suggested retaining Ramon Lopez as for DTI because of his stellar performance.
Yes, yes.
Anyone else that you feel should?
But off top, no, I haven't really
Yeah.
thought about that. But off top, Mon Lopez is a good choice. He's pro MSMEs. In fact, MSMEs have grown in the past 6 years under his leadership, and they've injected innovation in terms of MSMEs. Off top, he's the only person that I can think of right now. No, but of course, what is important, no, for the next 6 years is not business as usual, but some cabinet team that can bring in innovation, that can bring in reforms, they can bring in a different direction, no? So that, again, I go back to the political capital because it's unique. That
Yes.
60% voting or 60% votes that these two leaders will get is something that we should use in the next 6 years.
Okay, well, I guess you are being very cautious about who you recommend, so I respect that. But thank you very much for your time this morning, Senator Win Gatchalian, and thank you for always being available to Agenda. Have a good day.
Thank you, Cito. Thank you.
Okay, that's Senator Win Gatchalian, and I'm sure that many of you picked up answers to malingering questions. And we'll go for a quick break. When we return, I'll join up with our colleague at the Philippine Star, Marichu Villanueva, because that is the other realm of concern right now, given how Bongbong Marcos has time and again spoken about media bias, being anti-Marcos, the media being anti-Marcos, and what her assessment is. We'll be right back here on Agenda. to the program agenda. I'm your host Cito Beltran, and at this part at this part of the program, we have with us editor and columnist and boss, boss ko sa Philippine Star. We have with us Marichu Villanueva. Nalilito na ako sa mga pangalan ni Chu. Thank you for joining us this morning. How was your experience in the last 24 to 48 hours?
Thank you, Cito, for inviting me again. It's been a while. Kasi nga, may COVID. We have to watch through, interact through Zoom. Obviously, I had a small amount of sleep for the past 2 days. And now I can sleep very well tonight because knowing there is already a committed or targeted time to proclaim the presidential and vice presidential as well as the senatorial by May 27, and almost 98.99% of the returns are already in, and they are now manually encoded by the PPCRB transparency. So I guess it's will be hosting well smoothly the rest of the way.
Okay, now having said that, how are you feeling? I think it would be fair to say that many members of media are anxious because of the BBM victory, because of our, how would you term it, strained relations with Bongbong Marcos, trying to get him to talk, to be interviewed. Are you guys worried about this?
I think by and large, and most of the press and crops of journalists now covering BBM are feeling the same way because the media bureau of BBM has become somewhat choosy. They are selective. They do not want to expose their boss, their principal, to nasty or critical questions. I think they are underestimating BBM's intelligence by protecting him overly, zealously. I think they have to reset their mindset has to change with the realities of the political realities of Malacanang. It's no longer campaign time. He is now president-elect, and he has to be accessible and accommodating to all media, whether nasty or nice to him. I think that is the primary concern now of the BBM camp, to ease or to mas stricter pa ang restriction nila sa COVID protocols.
Okay,
that's
now
how I get it.
you have covered Malacanang. You were with the press corps through so many precedents that some people say, si Marichu Villanueva, merong titulo yan to 1 square meter dun sa press office sa Malacanang. But having seen and witnessed so many precedents, different styles, etc., is this going to be a good thing? And could you just walk us through the different styles of different presidents and who benefited with engaging with the media versus who lost out by being selective and reactive to the media?
You know, Cito, I have covered now 6 presidents, starting from Mrs. Cor Aquino. Marcos, hindi pa. Mrs. Cor Aquino talaga, she was overwhelmingly popular from the foreign press, and when there were so many mosquito press in the past during Marcos' time, they become emboldened and very close to the opposition then under Mrs. Aquino. So they had more access to her, while the former crony na newspapers and TV networks and radios were isolated. And that was the time then of the late Press Secretary Teodoro Benigno, who was once the Agence France Press Bureau Chief here in Manila. So there were so much strain in the relations between the local press, Malacanang press for us, and the foreign press, because obviously Eddie Benigno had then a closer heart with the FOCA, with the foreign press. So they were given priority. So at one time, you remember, we had a sit-in strike manala kami ng press corps because to really dramatize our complaints that they have been biased for the foreign press because Mrs. Aquino was very popular then with the foreign press. And eventually we were able to work out equal or parity rights with the local press. So eventually, the second, third, fourth, and until she retired, we have a very good relationship with her. Then come President Ramos, who's very media savvy. He considers the press as his friend. He's a cyber operation expert. So he even has standing instructions to his PSG, close in security. But the media, you should allow them to be with me because they are my immediate protection. So we are given easier access to him. And we have a regular press briefing with FBR. He gives us the press con every Wednesday. Before he starts the press con, he bombards us with so many press releases, with press statements. By the time we go to the question and answer, we no longer have questions to ask because there's information overload.
I always teach that to my students in government and in the private sector. I tell them, just flood them with all the answers and they won't have any questions.
Yes. Unlike with Mrs. Aquino na medyo shy siya. I mean, meron siyang experience in the past sa Marcos Crony newspaper or media. Hindi siya ganun ka-accessible. We only had one or twice na press con with Mrs. Cory. Then comes ERAP, another media.
But before you go to ERAP, Ichu, I just want to ask, when FVR, Fidel Valdez Ramos, was media savvy, very available to the media, flooded you guys with all the answers, more than questions. Did that make you gentler, softer, or more professional with FVR than with the other president?
You know, because I'm an old school journalist, I do not rely on press releases and hand out press statements. I go out my way to find the truth that I want, really to investigate. That's the kind of training I had. So even if we were bombarded with press statements, I had experienced one time FBR castigating the late press secretary G.S. Season because I scooped the press secretary no less when I came out because of my investigative and research. I came out with a story. FBR issues an executive order that practically grants power firms to raise their tariffs without within the limit. So it was a headline story in the Manila Standard out there, my tabloid pang standard noon. And he castigated because Jess Season told me, ikaw naman Marichu, napagalitan ako ng presidente dahil nang scoop ka, pati ko in-scoop mo. It works both ways. It challenges the senior reporters to go out their way to dig up.
Yeah.
And we don't rely on handouts. But press releases.
Well, but the group as a whole, the media, when a person, whether politician, business, when a person is more accessible, does it make the media more professional and kumbaga friendlier?
Not all, I think. Pero it is a good capital for capital relations, di ba? Meron kang seed capital ng good relations. Now you tend to be present pag may negative story na accessible na may presidente mo, you immediately call them up. As in the case of ERAP then, when he was being criticized, medyo na-identify ako as pro Ramos kasi pag magtatanong ko sa niya, ganito policy doon, bakit mo pinapalitan ngayon? Ang hirap naman sa'yo, Marichu, masyado kang pro Ramos eh. That's for the first year na nagko-cover ako kay ERAP. Tapos, yung sabi niya, Iha, ganito na lang, bibigay ko sa'yo hotline ko, pag meron kang mga ganyang istorya, you get my side, I will answer you. Kasi naging kampante na sa'yo na ikaw naman ay balance eh. You have you have shown him na meron kang track record na balance ka and fair. Yun lang ang magiging magandang kapital ng pagiging accessible and media friendly ang isang pangulo. Na open siya, bilhin mo bigay ka ng hotline na sino ba naman hindi mag-ano. Pero I didn't abuse that kind of a hotline kasi I know the president is very busy and I don't want to overburden him with my media except when necessary. Katulad ng mga may nakuha ko get istorya. So I need to get the facts straight and get the other side. Yun man turo sa atin sa journalism, di ba? Sito, get the total picture, not just a he said or she said, but the total picture.
What about under GMA or Gloria Macapagal Arroyo?
She was then as a president, was very accessible then, and accessible, pero nasty siya. Kasi she's very brutally frank. If you ask in the, may press con kami sa kanya every week, na maski sa magpapa-ambush interview siya eh. At lately, ayaw na niya pa-ambush interview kasi sabi niya, I don't want to answer off the cuff na I have no exact knowledge of the things that I am being asked. So, naban yung ambush interview. Kasi minsan, nakikita namin siya, may pinagagalitan. Na official sa public. Kasi ganun siya brutally frank, not only with the media, but to his people. Na pag nakita niya mali, talagang kakastigate niya publicly. Pag nagtanong ka naman ng mali, ako lang one time nasabi, Madam, General Espinosa said this. Sabi sa'yo, yung podium hinampas ng pakalaks na kasi. Call up Major Espinosa. Call up na sa aid niya. Right there and there sa press con. Hello? Ano ba first name Espinosa? No? Hello, it's fine. This is President Gloria Macapagal Arroyo. Somebody is asking me this question in a press con. Is it true that you said this? Live yan, ha? Ganon siya. Wala mapapahiya ka pag nagtanong ka na he said, she said. Kaya you have to ask, we have to be prepared with a question that she mentally and intellectually be challenged, not to be mataray. And eventually, naging limited na yung press ko sa kanya. Kasi marami kami, mga more than 60 kami mga malaki yung press ko. We devise a way na yung first 10 or first 12 may lunch sa kanya, sit down lunch. Pero no TV, no camera. Kasi nga lagi siyang yung pag may mga nasty questions,
and that would be okay with the media, I presume. Kasi issue nga yan eh. Some people would say, I'm willing to sit down with you guys, talagang everything on the table, pero walang video, walang recorder, kasi mahirap naman na gagamitin yung sinasabi ko, ibibitay niyo ako sa labas.
Yes. Pero, di ba when you write a story, pero you write a story in such a way na you describe how the president reacted to your question, di ba? Kaya nga lang, walang benefit ng video. Basta you can describe it. Maski naman sa TV, maski walang camera, they describe it in the reportage. The president was visibly irritated by the question.
Pero I remember on several occasions that GMA was branded Bratinela for publicly castigating or throwing a fit because of some idiot. Now, binabalikan ba kayo? And is that something that BBM should bear in mind? Because syempre, tao siya, human. We're all human. Does the media crucify presidents for being human?
I will give you my personal experience. During one of the sit-down lunch with GMA, there was this Tribune reporter. And I was the one asked to moderate. Ma'am, Sherwin has a question for you from Tribune. Sabi ni GMA without looking at the guy. Sherwin, I like you, but I don't like your paper because whatever I say, they twist it. Ganon siya. Pero ang tanong ng reporter is about sports, non-issue, non-controversial. Pero she stood na, I like you, but I cannot answer your question because your paper always twists my words. Ganon lang siya
But did the people in the room crucify GMA for that, for being honest?
No, we respect her. We respect that kind of presidential prerogative. We cannot impose upon the president. We can only adjust ourselves through our journalism work. As I told you, we can say, she begged off answering the question for fear of being twisted. So you still come out with the truth, what happened without the video, without the camera, without the tape. You can describe how it took place. Pero I know a president, I won't mention it. Buhay pa sila. there was a guy a radio guy who asking the question, Mr. President, there are so many bank robberies on one side and there are so many kidnappings on the other side. What is the PM? What are you doing about it? You know, ang sagot ni Presidente, sabi sa'yo, huwag ka na sasabihin kasi malalaman ko kung sino yun. Yung ganon. I am the President of the Philippines. You ask that to the PMP chief. Ganon. Tapos, the next day, I didn't find that guy anymore. He was reassigned to another beat.
Okay. Now, okay, medyo...
Dalawang beses yan. Two instances. Minsan namang reporter. Wala naman sa press con. Pero sa in fairness, meron ng transcript beforehand na nakarating yung first page. Medyo sensitive yung storya about the MILF, MNLF talks. And he wrote, kasi yung nagtatranscribe, may di ba? Pagsasagot, merong ang sinistorya na next day, front page pa. And we were also aghast to see the front page news because he was not even there. Sabi niya gano'n, the president flip-flop on the MILF, MNLF talks. So how can you say he flip-flop when you were not even there to see what were the demeanor and how he answered it? Kaya the next day, we saw another reporter reporting for duty. Oh, what happened to ano? Na-reassign na siya.
Okay.
Hindi yung presidente na yun.
Okay, now we're running short on time, Ichu, and but thank you. You are really giving our viewers may mga reactions nga ako dito, and the question here is, what advice could you give to Bongbong Marcos if by some miracle he gets to watch this interview? What would you tell him? Because he claims, or his people claim, that once he becomes president, he will directly engage the media, he will not have a spokesperson, etc., etc. What are your thoughts on that?
As I've said before kanina, it was, I think, I fault his campaign staff or the media bureau for trying to overly protect their principal. He is naman intelligent, very candid, very eloquent, articulate. They are presuming the worst of their principal. So I wish BBM or President-elect or President apparent BBM would really find a press secretary, a media staff who would not undermine him, especially with his relations with media. He cannot directly speak to the people without getting the co-opting. I don't know the exact words, but the kind of working relations you need to have with media without paying mga bribery, without the envelope. Wala naman yun kasi marami the usual stocks na may paid hack, bayaran yan. And they do not even know the reality on the ground. It's very, very difficult, very hard work for journalists covering the president. You want to be the link of the president to the public, and you must stay straight to the fact, straight lang, wala yung mga sinasabing biases, prejudices. Dapat straight fact lang, truth reporting, truth telling. Hindi na kailangan ng fact-checking if you are really sticking to the cardinal rule of accuracy, accuracy, accuracy.
Okay. Well, Ichu, thank you very much for your time today. And I personally learned a lot. And I'm sure my students now realize what I was teaching them. Bahain nyo ng sagot, sila ang kakapusin sa tanong. Okay, thank you very much, Marichu Villanueva. Have a good day.
Thank you. Same to you. Stay COVID-free.
Okay, that's Marichu Villanueva, editor and columnist of the Philippine Star. And I leave you now with our week's blessing. It is from Isaiah chapter 43, verse 2. When you pass through the waters, I will be with you. And through rivers, they shall not overwhelm you. When you walk through fire, you shall not be burned, and the flame shall not consume you. That is the word from the Lord, and that's today's agenda. Please keep it here on One News PH.